Hello everyone, I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Mom.
And this is Millennial Mom. And today we are here to recap Married at First Sight Season 11, Episode 11. Let's talk about sex, baby. But before we do that, I want to wish my mom a happy birthday. As you can see, we're matching. And I got her favorite nothing but cakes.
Thank you so much. You know I love these.
Yep. Well, now let's get into that review. So if you missed our intro, today is Mom's birthday, and that's why we're dressing alike. So we're going to get to this review so we can do a little bit partying later on. So our first couple that we are going to talk about is Karen and Miles, because I think we finally got what we have been asking for and looking for, and that is one of the experts coming and talking to these couples. And we got Dr. Viviana this time, which I'm not too mad at.
You know, I'm so happy that the experts came, at least one, because they all need the help, even the front runners, for whatever's going on and just to navigate what's happening. But with Karen and Miles, the questions were, how do you feel about marriage? Do you feel that you're married? And of course, Karen gives the standard answers we've been hearing for weeks. Not really. And Miles' new answer is, well, sometimes, or like day to day. I'm like, why did you say that? Because up until today, he's the only one that's felt married.
Well, he said he felt more so married when they were out doing things as a couple. He never said they felt married inside the house.
Okay. Well, the issue of intimacy came up and things like that. And of course, we all know Karen's answer. She wants to take it slow, takes her a while to warm up, things like that. And you know what? Overall, sometimes you do need a little time to warm up. But with the things that Karen has said up until now, kind of like being dismissive, her unsaved comment, her, you know, you writing this on the calendar, to all these things, like so many mixed messages. What is Miles supposed to believe?
Right, but the thing is, when Miles said he's more so looking for the end in mind, the 8 weeks, like what's going to happen then. But Karen said it's the time of getting to know someone, since it's such a, you know, only an 8-week fast-paced marriage course, that I'm assuming that's how she's taking it.
Of course.
A crash course on marriage. And it's like, but you knew this. I can't get over the fact that you knew this. You knew that there was going to be cameras. You knew everything was going to be fast-paced. And we already know why she's already feeling the way she's feeling, so we're not going to reiterate it again. But Miles, to me, it now seems like you said earlier, he's changing his answers, and it's kind of like to fit into Karen, because he knows that he doesn't want to rock the boat. He knows that he wants to try to be intimate in some type of way, shape, or form, or fashion with Karen. But Karen, you can see on her face that she doesn't want that at all, because she's like, you know, we're opposites. He's more romantic. I still want to take things slow for whatever reason she wants to take things slow. And Dr. Viviana's like, okay, how about we just take intimacy off the table for now? Karen's like,
Yeah,
like now.
But when she said that, Karen was more quick to agree, versus Miles' face was like, there was no answer. Well, we didn't see it on camera. And again, it's Miles conforming to what Karen wants. There's nothing to conform with what your spouse wants. But it just seemed like it's all what Karen wants. Because if Karen says this, oh, well then, you know, she may leave. I think he's worried about her leaving at the 8 weeks, because he wants to be married a lifetime. And you know, one of the things, going back to Karen with being on camera, being uncomfortable, I can see that because there's been a few couples before who seemed like they were uncomfortable on camera. But Karen threw in the modest thing, like she was uncomfortable talking about intimacy things. But again, you're married, so everything is out in the open on camera. You chose to sign up for this. But Viviana said that if she's uncomfortable, maybe they should do different things, like maybe text words of affirmation or write down notes or something like that.
Give a look or whatever.
Yeah.
Touch each other. But you know what? Karen didn't so much agree with that. She was like, just stone face, like you can't really read her. But Miles was like, okay, yeah, maybe we can do that. So later on, I don't know if you noticed, Mom, when they went to go do that exercising thing that they did, it looked fun.
The body fit.
after they were done, they were joking around, kidding, kikiing, whatever. Miles, wants affection, touches her leg a little bit, and she kind of like jerks back a little bit. It's like, and just goes back on to joking and stuff. And I'm like, see, like, Karen wants Miles first, or maybe the cameras first. I don't even know anymore, to think that she's trying. But to me, there's a big difference from taking it slow still, and with Miles thinking forward to the 8 weeks, and actually putting in genuine, that's the key word, effort. And I don't feel, in my opinion, that Karen has been putting in any genuine effort.
Like, when is she going to open up? Because there's maybe 4 weeks left. I know there's things that maybe we don't see on camera or whatever, but it just seems the things that we do see are still the same reiterated things, like I can't, I won't, this, that. It's the same issue.
Especially when they go later on in the episode to the scene where they're pulling out these questions that they all have. And she pulled out the question for Miles, like, oh, so what is your pet name for me? He was like, love, mama, head.
Well,
head?
The head thing, I was like, what you mean about that? But I can see that point.
I think it went both ways. But then, of course, he flipped the question around on her. She was like, well, I just don't do pet names. I was like, Karen, you're not giving us
effort.
anything.
Right. Where is the effort? Like, even if you don't do names, like, well, she did ask, what do you want me to call you? But it was almost like an afterthought.
And he was like, you call me child. I'm like, Miles, don't accept that. Don't accept that.
Well, he said, well, that's what his mama said. Maybe that's why he called her mama. And then he touched into the age thing, because it was like, so, he feels like he gets dismissed or diminished because of his age, even though he's accomplished a lot, that he normally navigates to people who are older, but they don't necessarily give him the credit. And I think he was trying to tell Karen, on the low, this is what you're doing to me too. But she tries to talk around that.
It wasn't on the low. It was right on the spot, because that was one of his insecurities. And he brought up an example, which was something that I thought was ironic, that she said something about he reminded her of him 8 years ago, because he wasn't really opening up and letting his feelings out and be known. And I was like, hold on.
Right.
This isn't the same Karen that was in the marriage scene crying tears because he was too emotional. That couldn't have been the same Karen.
It's always, to me, going to come back to the very beginning of that relationship. Moving on to Olivia and Brett. Now, Dr. Viviana visits them, and one thing she said to them, like, oh, so you're the cat people. Because there's 3 cats sitting up around, and apparently they had a fight today. And
the cats?
Yeah, the cats. Like, one of the cats is bossy. It's probably Olivia's cat, because I think she's bossy.
I don't think so.
So Dr. Viviana starts out with the questions like, what are the challenges that you both are having? And they both mention it's the living situation and the kids topic. And Olivia's saying how the commute with Brett's house is so long for her work and everything else. And Brett's like, oh, excuse me, because I'm responsible. Like, I have a mortgage. Sarcastic.
See, I was bothered by Brett this entire episode. It's his delivery, it's his snide remarks, it's his facial expressions, and I'm glad that Olivia finally called him out on it too. And it was funny because when they were having that conversation, and every time they would talk and they would stop, Dr. Viviana will look at Olivia, then she'll look at Brett, and then she'll look at Olivia. I was like, yeah, girl, I see it too. Did you see it, or am I tripping?
No, you're not tripping, but there was always tension in the room with those two. Always. It's the same tension or similar tension that another couple has. But the conversation with those two and with all the questions were along the lines of they're not on the same page. This is nothing new. I just don't know how they were matched, because you know what? When some of the question was Dr. Viviana, when they talked about the kids thing, Dr. Viviana called out Olivia, was like, well, when I first met you, you said you would be open to having kids, because Brett definitely wants kids.
I didn't hear her say open. I heard Olivia say that she would want to have kids in the right circumstance with the right person. And Dr. Viviana sound like she co-signed it, unless I heard something different.
That is not what she said. Dr. Viviana said, when I first met you, you said you're open to having children with the right person, the right circumstances. That's what she said. That's not co-signing, because Olivia now is like, well, yeah, but if I don't, I don't. So to me, matching someone who wants kids versus someone who may not want some, or maybe the right circumstances, is not a good match. What they put them together for?
Maybe it was for the love of cats, but something that I thought was, once again, quite interesting is when Brett gave this beautiful compliment to Olivia, saying how, you know, when she genuinely smiles at someone, it's really beautiful because she doesn't really smile at anyone. And I just love when she does that. And Olivia's face was like, is he serious right now? Like, did he really just say that? And Dr. Viviana catched on to it too. That's why I'm glad she came and not Dr. Pepper or Pascal or somebody. But Dr. Viviana was like, well, do you believe this, Olivia? She was like, yeah, I guess. It seemed kind of real.
I know, well, I don't know, but I feel Olivia is opening up more, like I've been saying. She's getting a little bit more pushy, like I've been saying. But Olivia's true colors are coming out too, because she's talking about all the things she don't like about Brett, and what she don't like about the commute, and what she don't like about this, what she don't like about that. You know, it's starting to sound like it's all about you, Olivia.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think it's actually the total opposite. I feel like it's that way about Brett, because to me it seems like it's Brett's way or it's no way. Because Brett in his comments, I can't get over it.
Now, Brett in his comments is sarcastic. We knew that from the very beginning with Brett, that sarcasm was there. And we got those almost like Amelia vibes, those sunshine, roses, and gummy bears, until that communication broke down. And now Olivia's starting to come down some, like what she's not going to tolerate, because Olivia doesn't want to live where he lives. And she wants to travel and this and that. And Dr. Viviana had Olivia recognize, well, you know, maybe it's too soon to think about where you're going to live for now. And if you do live together, how come you can't have something that you both put your money in, that you both like, and you come to a common ground? And Olivia's like, oh, I guess. So I think Olivia's starting to get a little bit checked out too. And while I'm on the topic, Viviana asked them about the intimacy thing, and she says, no, they haven't been, but, you know, if he wants to make a move, you know, he should make a move. It's his call. And that's not how that works, because he wants to know, as Viviana says, like, that you want him, not because it's like, okay, I guess if you're in the mood, because how does that work? That's not intimacy. That's just doing the do to doing the do. And I do believe Dr. Viviana called her out on a lot more stuff than Brett this episode. And I think that's what she needed. I honestly do.
That's interesting. While we're on that topic, do you think Brett uses his sarcasm in defense of Olivia's pushiness?
You know what? I'm glad you said that. You know, I'm on the roll, lovely subscribers and non-subscribers, but that's okay. I think sarcasm is a defense mechanism for Brett. I'm not saying it's right. It is inappropriate, because even Dr. Vivian called him out about it being inappropriate with the things he was saying, and not the right time, because it wasn't. But that is a defense thing. And I just don't think, once again, they're on the same page with budget, communication, anything.
Well, then that's going to bring us on to when they're at the restaurant and they're having this conversation. And I was like, at first, they got some fancy cups. Who's paying for this? Because I know it's not Brett with his Johnson cup. But that's beside the point.
Well, I disagree, because, you know, those cups didn't necessarily have to be that much. And maybe Brett will pay for something, but you better believe that Brett has it documented where every dollar goes, so he can make sure he's budgeted correctly.
Well, this is where Olivia brings up the topic of Brett and his faces, his facial expressions, and how she doesn't like it. And he, to me, was not receptive to the feedback at all. He was like, really? Sarcastic face? What kind of sarcastic face?
That's that defense mechanism coming through again. Of course he's going to react that way. Of course, even I know he's going to react this way from the very beginning. She is trying to, I'm sorry, but Olivia turned me off this episode.
Are you serious?
She is so trying to push her narrative that Brett's sarcasm is going to outshine whatever she's trying to convey. He's checked out with hearing. He's not even ready to communicate. You have to want to comprehend the information. You can only tell someone so much, but you can't make them understand what you're trying to say unless they're on the same page. And just to be like, and you, and I don't believe, and this, and that, and this whole episode, why would he be listening?
But then he's going to go off and tell the confessional that she needs to get with her things together, and then call her insecure because she's asking him if he still wants to be in the marriage. But I don't see anything wrong with that. I think Brett needs to check himself too if he's going to say Olivia needs to check himself.
They both need to check himself, but Olivia's starting to come unraveled even more, which leads to the next scene of the alcohol making class. And I just want to know how they got there because they didn't have, it seemed like a nice evening.
They didn't.
Even at the restaurant, Dr. Viviana. No. So when we saw them, I'm like, did I miss something?
Right. It was like, why are they here? But you know what? They were there. They were making their, I guess, egg yolk drink that they seemed to like and enjoy. But the conversation was had outside because Olivia was like, oh, I think we had a great time. I was like, where? Where was the great time at, Olivia? Because I didn't see it. It looked very unfun and uninterested, in my opinion.
It looks very distant, like they had been all episode.
And Olivia gets back to the point of like, well, you know, are we cool now? Do we need to rehash this? Brett's like, rehash what? Like, what are you talking about? Because you have a perception of what you think this is, so we having a problem? Like, no, it's your problem. And I was like, Brett, I can't do this. I was over Brett, and I know you were over Olivia. I couldn't handle their whole episode today. Taking a break for some of these couples who did meet with Dr. Viviana, I was surprised that all the couples didn't meet with her because I feel like, I don't know about you, Mom, but I already know that all of these couples need some type of expert help in some form or fashion. So we're going to start with the front runners and the peace people of this episode, Amani and Woody.
You know what? They had a cute scene. They were at the park, and one of the things they started talking about was kissing in the morning. Apparently, they kiss every morning, and Woody's like, you know, I'll kiss you even if your teeth aren't brushed. I want to kiss you before I dip out.
I'm like, why do I not believe that?
Believe it. Because they were like, you know, give me a kiss. Then they talk about the little things that they do for each other. And Amani goes on to say how she loves it when he does little things like make her breakfast tacos and even puts cheese on the tacos because he don't like cheese on his, but he goes the extra mile, but cheese on hers. I'm like, are they in love?
They are in love. All I kept thinking about was like the Lady in the Tramp scene. Like it was just...
Oh yeah, they were spaghetti and the meatballs.
They were definitely the rainbows and gumdrops and all that this episode, and I was really glad. So we see that, and then we also see a flashback scene to where he's talking about how, you know, he didn't have a dad growing up, and so the fact that her two dads were there and he feels like there's a bond and connection, I was like, you know what? I am really, really genuinely happy for Woody and Amani in this episode because sometimes it fluctuates.
And you know what? That topic came up because it was like, what have you gotten closure from? And that was one of the things you could see Woody's face drop. And it does every single time he talks about his dad because his dad went to prison early, did some time and came out when he was like a teenager, so he lost those years. And he was saying how he was looking for his dad at age of 9, but he was 16, so his dad couldn't be the same daddy because his dad wasn't even the same man. Time has gone on. And so Woody went on to say how he had counseling for these things, and he's had closure, even though it still hurts, he's had closure, he's able to move on. And that's when Amani was like, well, now you have 2 dads, and that's when they flipped to that scene. And I thought that was a really nice scene, because I remember that then, how he was so happy to know that Amani had such a support system, and he has now walked into that, and hopefully he could gain something from it too.
And then I was confused, because we had this episode about them talking about dogs and babies. Just dogs and babies.
Well, apparently Amani wants a dog. And
Woody wants a baby.
Yeah, in 2 years. I was like, in 2 years, I mean, if they've been having unprotected sex like they have, it might be soon.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, they just were going back and forth and, you know, teasing each other. But I think Amani's going to win out on the dog situation eventually. But the thing is, Woody just don't want the dog in the bed.
Honestly, I think I could see them if they actually stay the whole time together, and after that they would have a baby, because when later on in their last scene of the episode, when they had the questions, because you know Dr. Viviana didn't come, they just had some questions to pull out, and of course all their questions were sexual. I was like, is it about to be a meeting in their bedroom? Because this is just looking a little too inappropriate for me. I almost had to close my eyes, but you know my mom wasn't in the room with me, so I was like, I'm watching it.
Whatever, you're old enough to watch it anyways. But they do have a lot of intimacy scenes, and we get it. They are intimate on the highest level, but I still want to see them interact, doing things, activities like the other couples have to do, like activities
Like
day to day,
or murals,
yeah,
or
something like that. So I want to see them grow a little bit. Now we have Amelia and Bennett, and they also did not receive a visit. And again, all the couples should at least receive a one-on-one. You know, getting those messages, I don't think is necessarily a good thing, but okay.
I think they should have got more of a one-on-one session than, if anybody, Amani and Woody, because once again, you know, after we see the scene with them doing the questions and them being forehead to forehead, talking about what they like about each other, what more they're going to do to be more open, be more sexually connected with each other, it always comes back, no matter who they're with, whether it's each other or their friends, her and her residency in having to move.
Yes, it does.
Always, always, always.
And that is going to be an issue, but it looks like we're going to know either next episode or real soon, because we'll see later when Bennett is talking to Henry about it, about her residency and when the time frame may be. But back to them being on a connection level. I mean, Amelia is still on cloud 9, and I just want to know, what is it going to take for her to open up? Like, I understand that
What do you mean open up? Open up like connection wise or communication wise?
Well, I do believe they have a connection, and I do believe they have communication, but open up to see what is really going on. Like, again, remember those flaws or something that they were talking about before? Because we don't really know about that. But what she said in her confessional was interesting too. She said that she didn't feel that Bennett was opening up all the way. And I'm like, really? Like, I had a few really moments in this episode.
With Amelia?
Yes.
Especially, you had that one, but I was looking at this the confessional scene when, once again, they were talking about her having to move, and she acknowledges that, you know, he does have a life here too, with his friends and stuff. But her face made it seem like it was more like a Brett face, like, you know, he better move with me type of face. That's the vibe that I got, and I'm sure that is the vibe, because Amelia already let us know real early in the episodes that, you know, she likes her an independent man, but, you know, when it's time for them to do stuff together, or more so on her time, it's her time or no time. So for our last couple in this episode is Christina and Henry. Before we even get into Christina, all I want to say is that I was really sticking up for Christina, because I thought she was really doing good, but she took so many steps backwards in this episode to me.
So are you giving Christina the business like I gave Olivia, or what?
I don't know, but let's just get into it. So Dr. Viviana is speaking with them, asking them all the same question. Christina is like, you know, when it comes to Henry and relationships prior, she's not used to waiting so long for someone to initiate something with her, which, you know, you can kind of see, but at this point you kind of know how Henry rolls, and if you want it to work, you kind of have to, you know, be more receptive on how he works, because I somewhat feel like he is trying little by little. It's not big steps, but it's more steps than Karen is taking, and that's all I can ask for.
So you know what? I really don't want to compare, but I have to. I mean, with the couples who are front runners and the couples who aren't, every week it's the same storyline. I need you to communicate. I need you to be more open. I need you to be more honest. It's the same thing. Dr. Viviana was trying to let Christina and Henry know what and how they can both be receptive and open to each other's wants and needs. And Christina at first was saying, just like you said, she's used to someone else taking the lead. And Henry said he's used to more the back seat, and he's not used to being out there and dating, and hasn't had too many relationships where he felt like, you know, he had the experience enough to do whatever Christina wants him to do, take the lead, and that's not naturally his nature. And Christina, to me, seemed like she was understanding at first, just like she was trying to understand last episode and the week before. But like you said, she dialed it back for me, because when Henry got to the part when he was talking about how he felt as a child, how he felt that, you know, him being a chubby kid as a child affected who
when
he
did
was.
The blindfolding activity.
Yes, affected who he was, and how Christina responded to that. I was like, so you don't have any empathy for Henry when it comes to that. Like, you just want him to take the lead. You just trying to be intimate at whatever cost.
Yeah, when he finally said one of his insecurities about him being, you know, overweight as a child, and people used to make fun of him, and to me it didn't sound like he didn't say that, you know, he wasn't completely over it. It was just something that he thinks about from time to time. And when Christina was like, you know, you're like, what, 34, about to be 35? Are you serious? Like, that shouldn't even be something that you're worried about. You should really get over it.
Yeah.
I was like, Christina, I was taking up for you on these reviews while people were calling you mean, and you're gonna go and do something and say something cold-hearted like that with no empathy for the person who you are in a marriage with, because for her turn off and deal breakers is someone who lacks confidence. Why can't you, you know, try to help him? How come you can't try to build him instead of tearing him down constantly like you have been doing? But, you know, I was kind of seeing your point of, you know, Henry is taking a long time. He is kind of awkward, which he even admitted himself. But at that point, he was starting to feel comfortable with you. Do you really now, 4 weeks in, think he's really going to be comfortable with you, going to be more open with you, going to want to talk to you? Because he already thought he was rude. He was just coming around too.
4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever the weeks are, do you think he's going to be comfortable? The answer for me is no. Henry's just not comfortable in general in circumstances that he has to build up towards. And touching on your point, you know, Henry, that self-confidence thing, that is a form of dysmorphia, because he said he still sees himself as a chubby kid still, you know, when he looks in the mirror. And didn't she say, Christina, to Henry's friends, how, oh, when she learned that he helped his friend through a trying time, that he could help her too? Didn't she want the same thing? But then you turn around and like dismissed Henry?
That's exactly what happened. But thank you to Bennett, who came and saved the day. See, this is why I knew I liked Bennett. Because they had a conversation basically talking about how their conversations were with Dr. Viviana. But when Henry let him know about how he felt when Christina basically shut him down about having, you know, lack of self-confidence because it's a deal breaker or a turn off, I was like, no, she's a deal breaker, Henry, not turn off. Bennett really built up his confidence because he told him, you know, people have a perception of confidence being, you know, you could just do anything, say anything, and just have no care in the world. But really, self-confidence also comes into play when you can self-reflect on the things that you do, your weaknesses and your strengths, and become a better person from that. So when he got back to the house and they had a conversation about it, Christina then wants to be like, oh, you know, I had a talk with my mom, and, you know, she told me this is everything that I want, so, you know, what's the issue? You know, because I'm not perfect either. Exactly. So why did you just shut this man completely down like that? Is the whole basis of the conversation. And while they were having that conversation, of course, Henry was shut off. He wasn't with it. He kept saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Old Henry. Christina was rolling her eyes, but it's like, Christina, you did this to yourself because he was trying and you basically
dismissed it.
Okay, everyone, so that was the end of this week's episode, and it's getting there. I just want to say that it's getting somewhere. What did you think about it, Mom?
Yeah, it's getting somewhere. I still want to see more of the counselors, professionals, whatever their title is,
experts,
visit all the couples to set a path, of course, to victory, success, because just because the front runners are having success, the other couples clearly aren't. So we need to see them all come together.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you leave a comment down below to let us know what you thought about this week's episode. And we also want to tell you guys our winner for our 700 subscriber giveaway, and that is Brenda A. Thank you so much for watching and commenting, Brenda A. So if you could leave your email address in the comments down below, or you can email us at Millennial and Mom to receive your $25 Visa gift card. So once again, happy birthday, Mom.
Thank you.
Make sure you guys all like, comment, subscribe, tell Mom happy birthday.
Thank you all for watching, and as always, live simply, be grateful.